The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Sepehrrad back with us. She's a leading Iranian American scholar, published author, cybersecurity executive, and human rights advocate, known for her tireless efforts to advance a non-nuclear, secular, and democratic republic in Iran. Dr. Ramesh, good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great, Bill. It's so good to be back with you.
Well, I imagine that you are excited. I mean, there's lots of emotions about what's going on in your homeland in Iran right now. And it looks in many ways very positive. And also it's tragic in some regards, because I think that this is quite the lesson, not only for the people of Iran, people of America, the world, that freedom comes at a price, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And I think what took place in Iran since December 28 really demonstrated how the landscape have changed with regards to Iranian people and their desire for freedom and democracy and a non-nuclear republic that is secular. So I think it's super important for us to look at the events since December in Iran as kind of a building blocks and the momentum that has gained even more traction lately, and which is what's happening in Iran is no longer just another protest cycle. It's actually an organized nationwide uprising with a clear objective to change the regime in power there. The Iranian people are rejecting the clerical regime. That's why in one of the most popular slogan is "Down with the dictator, down with the Khamenei," which is the Iran's supreme leader. So a lot of people may just really be focusing on how the economic stoppage that took place in Bazaar rapidly evolved into the political confrontation with the regime that unfortunately has led to loss of lives for thousands of people, and also many are arrested and are now facing execution. So, but going back to your point about the price of freedom, freedom doesn't come free. Freedom has to be earned. It has to be fought for. And what we see is the real story is this organized, rebellious nation where the young, the old, the women, the Iranian nationalities from all walks of life are joining hand in hand to push this regime down and bring it down, and call for the democracy and the republic that they've been fighting for centuries now.
Yeah, I was going to say this recent situation has been years in the making. This wasn't just, you talk about the ignition point. There's always an ignition point when it gets to be too much. And this is where it is right now in the streets of Iran, where the people's backs are up against the wall. And it's almost like America's, I keep using this example, a Patrick Henry moment, give me liberty or give me death. It would appear,
Absolutely.
based on my observation, that this is what the people of Iran are embracing. Is that fair?
I love the analogy you just used with Patrick Henry, because this is precisely the moment, precisely the choice that the people of Iran are facing. Beyond that trigger, you have to think about, okay, there's been multiple trigger, but what was different about this one was the trigger turned immediately to this rapid escalation that really speaks to the pre-existing organizational readiness of this Free Iran movement. That this is not just a nation that is angry at this criminal regime. This is a nation that has been working on this capability, this organizational readiness for this very moment, that when they say, give me death or give me liberty, it comes with a message of confidence that I have built this moment on the back of the previous nationwide uprising. I have built this moment based on the lessons learned and the practice of the movements and the price that has been paid to this point. I have built this moment with my sacrifice, with my blood, and therefore I'm not going to give it up, and I'm not going to waste this moment. So I
Exactly.
think, even though there's been a significant blackout, communication blackout with the internet, which we've never seen anything like this before. I mean, obviously, many different dictatorial and autocratic regimes have resorted to internet shutdown and blackout, but not to this extent. What's really impressive is the movement has expanded, and we see evidence of that coming through some of the messages that our Iranian youth and the protesters are creatively finding ways of sending their message out. It really shows that all sectors of the society, from the merchants in the bazaar to the students to the workers, really showing kind of a cross coordination, cross-sector coordination that's happening, which really goes back to what I said, that organizational readiness. That's quite impressive about this particular uprising. So yes, this is a very defining moment for Iranian people.
And I like how you presented this, Dr. Ramesh, because the people are standing on the shoulders of generations of Persians, Iranians there that have suffered, and they've waited for this day that is coming about right now. And I can't help but believe that it is energizing the populace.
Absolutely, absolutely. And obviously, Iranian people have a tremendous historical struggle for democracy and freedom. So they draw on those lessons learned, but they also draw on other countries. I mean, if you look at our own American Revolution here, if you look at revolutions that took place for a secular republic in Europe and elsewhere, Iranian people are not blind to those historic lessons learned by other nations. One of the things that I think is warrant a discussion in this program is the fact that even though that there is this massive campaign to say that Iranian people are fighting for just getting rid of this regime and restoring monarchy, and bringing back the son of Shah, Reza Pahlavi, or going back to what it was before 1979. The facts on the ground speaks differently. The facts on the ground, and again, going back to that historic context, is that no country that has rid itself from monarchy has ever gone back to monarchy.
Right,
That's a
exactly.
historical fact.
Right,
So
right.
Iran is not going to be an exception. Two, no country has ever done a regime change with an external puppet successfully that has led to a peaceful transition and peaceful democratic that was an enduring democracy. I mean, we've had the experience with Iraq, we've had the experience with Afghanistan. Reza Pahlavi is trying to position himself as the transitional leader. Well, the question for him is, where was he in the last 45 years? What did
Exactly.
he do exactly in the last 45 years? Has he built a coalition in the last 45 years? Does he have the legitimacy that has gained him that trust, that credibility? No, he doesn't. In fact, his record speaks counter to that. I mean, yes, he has attempted to have a coalition building back in 2022. If you remember, after the killing of Mahsa Amini, the innocent Kurdish girl that was killed, Pahlavi was trying to kind of ride the wave, again, similar to what he's doing today, and try to bring multiple people to the table and build this coalition through this Georgetown coalition. And that didn't go anywhere. And he's the one who pulled out. He's the one who undermined it. So he is playing a very disruptive and distracting role, which honestly, everything that I hear in the messages that I receive from Iran, even though with the internet it's delayed messaging, is that please Make sure the world community understands that no one can steal this revolution. This revolution belongs to the people of Iran.
Exactly.
This revolution has a clear message. This revolution rejects both the monarchy of the past and the theocracy of today. And this revolution is moving forward. And moving forward means a secular democracy, a secular republic, a non-nuclear Iran that lives and has the potential to build a country in a more meaningful way that can be an example for the Middle East, that can be transformative for the peace and democracy across the region, and can actually show how democracies are built, not through bombs, not through foreign intervention, not through a puppet regimes by others, but through an authentic, homegrown resistance movement that is paid with its blood and sacrifice to get to this moment.
Exactly. We're talking with Dr. Ramesh Sepehrrad, a leading Iranian American scholar. And what you just articulated is what the people on the streets of Iran are articulating. The majority are championing
Yes.
that cause and seeing for themselves a vision, a new vision for the Middle East that Iran could serve as the catalyst to reconstruct. And I think that's exciting. I will say this, I don't know if you saw this or not, but Voice of America's Persian service has blacked out Iran's exiled crown prince.
I am extremely impressed
Yes.
with their clarity of not picking any sides, but really communicating the true American policy on Iran. And I think that was the charter, and that is the mission of the Voice of America. So I am extremely impressed on how they're staying true to their mission.
And I think that, as you said, the administration has learned from past mistakes from previous administrations, and Donald Trump is exercising some prudency and wisdom here. And maybe the information that he's getting from inside resources there from Iran are consistent with with the story that you're telling us, because here we are, and our audience, is praying for Iran. We're praying that God's will would be done. We're excited. We're praying for the safety of these people, but we understand that what they're putting on the line. I mean, they're putting their very life, their treasures, everything on the line for the sake of freedom.
And you're absolutely right. I think, obviously these prayers mean a lot to the people of Iran. I cannot tell you some of the clips and some of the messages that I hear coming from Iran, obviously with delay, that how much they appreciate the world attention, how much they appreciate the clarity on U.S. policy to really allowing the Iranian people to seize this moment, and how much they appreciate the fact that from the past administration, the mistakes that has been made over the years, whether it was appeasing the Iranian regime or legitimizing them through negotiations and giving them opportunity to sit at the table with the leaders of the free world, Iranian people are saying close the door on both of those avenues. The only option is when we overthrow this regime, then Iranian people and their true representatives are going to be at the table engaging with the rest of the free world as they rebuild the country. So, as I look back from December 28th to where we are today, I think it's important for us to understand how this truly national uprising was wide and expanded across all of Iran. So it's one thing that you say, it was happening across all 31 provinces, but it also included all regions. It also included all the different nationalities and ethnicities. And I'm talking about not just the capital, Tehran. I'm also talking about areas like Khuzestan, Kurdistan, Baluchistan, East Azerbaijan, Khorasan, Fars, Isfahan, Gilan, Elam, Lorestan, all of the areas where they have such a long history of struggle and lessons learned of the previous uprising, but yet they are united in their call for a free Iran. Over the years, every time there was a nationwide uprising in Iran, there were some talking heads in Washington that would say, if we interfere, we are going to be running the risk of ethnic infighting in Iran and regional battles, and Iran could dissolve as a country. But here they are.
Yes,
This
right.
demonstrates Iran never had that threat to begin with.
Mhm.
There is such a unity around the Iranian flag, its territorial integrity. There is such a unified message, no matter where they were born or what Iranian nationality group they belong to, as a Kurd, as a Arab Iranian, as a Kurd, as a Lor or Baluchi Iranian. Everybody is unified, and this is what's really significant about this particular uprising. And then I would say the other thing that was really impressive about this uprising was the breadth that undercuts the regime's narrative. Between the if you look at the regime's narrative, including the supreme leader who came out on more than one occasion to really try to crush the uprising, he used these words around our local unrests. These are foreign agitators. And
Mhm.
then I have to tell you, Bill, how many messages that came out of Iran in Farsi word, whether they were the Kurdish and Baluchis and from Tehran or other parts of the country, and said, look at me, look at my face. I am not a foreign agitator. I'm an Iranian, I'm a native Iranian. I'm a proud Kurd. I'm a proud Baluchi that is calling for your end, Khamenei, the supreme leader. So you
Mhm.
cannot get away by branding us as a foreign agitator, because we are very much homegrown agitators. So I
Right.
think that's just incredibly brave and incredibly impressive, that this unifying demand for regime change is very, very clear, that no matter how the regime tries to put a different spin and different narrative around it, they're not going to be successful. And it politically has a very strong message that there is this organized internal threat to this regime. This is not a isolated dissent, but the regime, and this is Iran's supreme leader's Achilles heel.
Yeah.
He will probably invite so many different proxy wars, so many different foreign intervention as a way to discredit and distract this organized internal movement.
Mhm.
But he knows that his days are numbered, because there is a homegrown organized movement. Because
Right.
he knows that everything that he's tried, including repression. I mean, Bill, regime has killed thousands over the last several weeks.
I know they're
Thousands.
making it sound they're
Yeah.
underestimating these numbers, and but Donald
Yeah.
Trump's getting the numbers, and I think this is one of the reasons why he's sending a flotilla of Navy ships to the area, because he's realizing that he's been lied to.
Yeah, I mean, the numbers are appalling. The numbers are really speaks to the true nature of this regime, that they will not stop at anything, including crimes against humanity. But I
Mhm.
think what's really important is regime has even failed in its repressive strategy.
Mhm. Yeah.
It kills and more people come to the streets.
Right.
It kills and massacre, and people are still saying down with the dictators. So I think, if anything, if as we look at reactions from the free world, as we look at potential intervention, military intervention, even by the US, I think if we don't have a political end game, we're not going to see the end of this regime. And
Right.
that political end game is in the hands of the Iranian people.
Yeah, you can
That
see that.
decisive
Yeah.
factor, yeah,
Right.
that
Exactly.
decisive factor, that this is an internal resistance capacity, not
Mhm.
an external military action that's going to bring this regime down, I think is just as important for the world community to recognize that as the only effective means to end this regime.
We're talking with Dr. Ramesh Sepehrrad. Dr. Ramesh, let me ask you this. You know, a lot has been said about nationalism, and it's been presented in a way like it's antithetical to freedom, or it's a problem and manipulative and all this. I think that in the political realm, uh, the politicos get nervous when people are nationalized, because there's the force and power and unity. political entities want us to be divided. They want us to be at enmity with one another because this is where they gain power and strength. And what we're seeing clearly here in this, if I can say this, if it's fair to say this, because I see this as a nationalistic movement, is that it's starting to bring back into focus the power of nationalism, that it is a good thing. Is that fair?
The power of nationwide unity, that is absolutely, there is nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong for a nation to rise up against despotism
Hmm.
and rally behind the true Iranian flag, which is the sun and lion on the Iranian flag, not the one that this regime has, and not the one that the Reza Pahlavi has, where there is a crown or royal demarcation on the flag. A true beautiful flag of Iran is the one that is the lion and sun, and we should rally, and Iranians are in fact are rallying behind that flag. That is what we need to recognize and respect. And I think the other thing I would say is, Bill, despite what the whoever wants to put different spin on this situation, whether is this threat of a nationalism or however they want to say, what happens on the ground, the dynamics on the ground is what's going to
Hmm.
set the tone for the events to come in weeks and months ahead. And that dynamic is a unified nation that says no to this regime, no to monarchy, and yes to a non-nuclear secular republic.
Right.
That is what I think Iranian people deserve to be heard on. As I said, Iran has such a beautiful diversity of different nationalities, but they are all proud Iranians who stand up with their proud message and say, I'm an Iranian Kurd, and I'm an Iranian Turk, I'm an Iranian Baluchi, and I fight
Mm.
for a free Iran.
Wow.
So
Yeah.
all the spinners out there want to spin their message in a way that they serves them, go for it. But the reality is something else, that what we see happening in the country.
And it's the commonality and the nationalism spirit that will hold this diversity together is what I'm hearing. And I want you to
Absolutely.
I want you to go back for just a moment because I could tell as you were talking about the Iranian flag, how special that is with the lion and the sun. Uh, can you can you talk a little bit more about that and what that represents? Because I just sense something there that's deeper that our audience I think would be interested because we think about our American flag, the red, white, and blue, and what it means, and especially for those of us who have served in the military, it has just an incredible dimension of meaning, and I can sense that your flag has the same thing, and I want our audience to get that from you. Go ahead.
The lion and sun on Iranian flag is actually one of the oldest national emblems. Its meaning has evolved over the centuries, but it has consistently symbolized Iranian sovereignty, Iranian identity, and Iranian continuity. It has no religious connotation. It has, the lion itself is a symbol of courage
Mhm.
and guardianship of the land. And then it also, uh, the sun itself symbolizes the renewal, the life, and the light. And it really demonstrates what was inherited over the years from ancient Iran, which was the
Mhm.
pre-Islamic, to where we stand today. As I said, the meaning of it has changed over time, but is one of the most um, recognized um, symbol of Iran, which unfortunately has been abused and has been um, manipulated over the years. So, for example, during the monarchy era um, of Pahlavi, they installed the crown on top of
The lion,
and the
right?
emblem itself, which
Mhm.
really altered the original message of it. So that's not what the Iranian people want. And of course, the current regime removed the emblem altogether and replaced it with the Islamic Republic emblem. And again, Iranian people are rejecting theocracy. That's why the true movement for democracy in Iran want to bring that original emblem of lion and sun back to a new Iran, and really demonstrate this multinationality of Iranian nations under one emblem, beyond this regime or the previous regime, and demonstrate that all inclusiveness of the Iranian nationalities, whether they were born in north, south, east, west of Iran. They were all, and everyone is rallying behind that emblem that is neither religious nor monarchy, but it is a true representation of Iranian civilization as a nation that has endured over the years through this lion and sun emblem.
And, what particularly impacts my thinking is the sun, that the sun brings light. It brings new birth, renewal, as you
Yes.
say. And what a better time than right now. I mean, this is, kind of a flag again of encouragement to see the hope that lies ahead for the Iranian people, right?
100%, 100%. And it also aligns with the Iranian culture.
Mhm.
Iran's New Year is based on first day of spring, which in the context of rebirth of the nature where everything is growing. So when you look at the heritage of Iranian nationalities, and again, I keep saying Iranian nationalities, not Persians, because Persian is just
Yes,
one version of Iranian nationalities. But Iranian nationality has always celebrated this diversity of different ethnicities and backgrounds. Has and it's beyond religion, and it's you have to remember Iran's history based on the Zoroastrian history, and then when Islam came, majority converted to Islam, but Iranians always, we have Iranian Christians, Iranian Jews, and Baha'is,
hmm
who unfortunately many of these religions came under tremendous, mm,
persecution,
persecution.
Iran.
Ironically enough, under both this regime and the previous regime, they were always subject for manipulation by both the theocracy and the monarchy. But more so under this regime, because this regime uses religion as a weapon against people.
Right.
So, but this inclusiveness, this diversity has always been part of our culture that has endured uh, centuries. And just imagine the rebirth of that
Yeah.
in a new republic that is secular, in a new republic that Iranian nations can actually look at that flag and say, we are the embodiment of these symbols,
Right.
and we are, in fact, supporting the light and the courage that build this light for the new Iran. We see that right now in the streets of Iran.
Do you think that there's so much more that you don't know that you will know that will expand the impact and the vision for Iran?
Right now, based on what's happening inside Iran, absolutely. One of the things I wanted to kind of share with you based on my research and some of the analysis that I've done over the last um, 3 weeks is, obviously, who is leading the movement inside Iran is this network of resistance units.
Mhm.
And I've been collecting data about their activities and how influential and impactful they were, all the way, including now that we have an internet blackout, because they're
Yeah.
still working on getting the information outside of Iran. But during those days that they had access and they were able to send information more rapidly, I can see the trend where they were influential in blocking the roads and trying to really push the suppressive forces as they were trying to attack the regime. They were rerouting them in different directions so that they could save hundreds of lives and make sure that people are not getting arrested, especially in Tehran. You could see that how they try to really cut off the line of reinforcement for the IRGC or the paramilitary security forces that were attacking the protesters. They also did tremendous amount of work. Iran worked very closely with China to bring in surveillance technology and installing surveillance camera. So they did a lot of work in destroying the surveillance camera so it doesn't allow the regimes intelligence ministry to identify the protesters and later arrest them. So that happened in major cities, and it really allowed to protect the identity of
Right.
those that were leading the protests inside Iran. So they really were very, very significant in operationally disrupting the regime's repressive forces. And then from a metrics standpoint, there were measurable losses on the regime in the first 10 days of the protest. There were more than 110 regime's bases that were actually set on fire and disrupted, and they were not able to be functional. That is extremely impressive.
That's huge. Oh, wow.
More than 100 security vehicles that were destroyed, and those were 100 less vehicles that were used to kill and arrest people, and then 27 banners and 11 statues, including the statue of Qasem Soleimani, were destroyed and put on fire. And more importantly, and I think this is probably one of the most significant difference between this uprising versus the previous ones, were in cities like Lordegan, Kuh Dasht, and Islam Shahr. People actually disarmed the regime's suppressive forces. They were not even, they were not just confronting them, they actually disarmed them.
Wow.
And for a few hours, those small cities were temporarily liberated, according to the report. So I think this really demonstrates how mature this movement has become, how its organizational capabilities have increased and have become more impactful. So I would say, what we're going to be seeing coming, hopefully, these are some of the things that is not visible right now to everybody, that I'm really looking forward to learn more and more in coming days as we get more information from inside Iran.
Well, you're seeing the demonstration of that lion coming off the flag and the courage of these people, right? Wow.
That's correct. That's absolutely it. Yes.
Yeah, I mean, for them to do it, because they're doing this with a lot of courage and a desire for a new Iran. I mean, that is, catapulting this movement, as you say, organic. And it wasn't something that happened overnight. It was accumulation of years of frustration, but it's just like everything is come together at just the right time. And I mean, when you think about how this is, how other nations around Iran are reacting to this, you look at the fact that President Trump right now seems to be supporting, this organic movement, this homegrown movement. And when I say homegrown, I don't think that it's unsophisticated, by no means. It has to be sophisticated in order to affect the kind of, the kind of power and liberation it's affecting in the face of being crushed by this, by this regime, as you say.
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think the homegrown is the right word to use, but the sophistication, those are some of the things we're gonna hear about in years to come. We're gonna learn about what they did, how they did it, and how it was successful. And I'm hoping that it would really provide another example for repressed nations to learn from and lean on. But what you said kind of struck me, this organic movement, this organic movement that cannot be exploited, cannot be hijacked, and cannot be, and it's not for sale. It's not something that can be exploited by those who have their own agenda. And I think that's what's really important about this movement. One thing I remember in some of the conversations I've had with people, and they say, well, who's the face of this uprising? Who represent this uprising the most? Who's that one name? And I think what the Iranian protest is teaching all of us is maybe we shouldn't be looking for that one name. Maybe we should be looking for that one message.
Yes.
Maybe we should be looking for that one unifying message, because again, this is a dictatorship that relies on religion, uses religion as a weapon against people. And when people are pushing back against this theocracy, they're pushing back against a system of oppression that there isn't that many recent historic example that we can draw on and say, how do you best confront such suppression? And one of the strategies that I think has been successful for this organic movement inside Iran is not to have that identifiable leader. And when people say, well, does that mean the organization, the movement is leaderless? And I said,
Right.
no, it's not leaderless, because
Yes.
what's even more important about this movement is it has a strategy, it has organizational capacity. Clearly, it had the organizational readiness because it responded quickly to that that trigger of the bazaar and the economic trigger. And yes, because there is such a ambitious and aggressive repression that we've never seen before, it is operating without that one face. So I would say, instead of using the word leaderless, I would use the word leaderful. That is, this organization, this movement inside Iran is decentralized. It have many leaders, and to be honest, I was very encouraged by President Trump's message when he said, "Let the leaders emerge from
Yes.
this." So, and I think he's relying on that organic movement, and we have to trust that process to go forward. Now, that does not mean that this movement does not have alliances and support in diaspora. So when I see what's happening inside Iran for the call of non-nuclear secular Republic Iran, and I come and look outside, who's saying that in diaspora that can echo in that message? I see Maryam Rajavi. I see her 10-point plan. I see the National Council of Resistance of Iran. I don't see it in Reza Pahlavi's message. Reza Pahlavi comes in and talks about all of these beautiful words of democracy and secularism. But if you press a little harder and ask him, what about Iranian Republic? He will come up short, because that's not what he wants. He wants a monarchy. In fact, I think his team is positioning him that I want to be the next King Charles of UK for Iran. That's not what Iranian people want.
Right.
So, you know, it's really, really important that when we see what's happening inside Iran, the authenticity, that organic message, and its alliance with a more credible opposition that's outside of Iran, the diaspora, we need to give that two pillar the opportunity to have the message for the free world, not a discredited Reza Pahlavi who has really done nothing but distract and try to ride the wave of this movement and this revolution which doesn't belong to him.
Well, the message is so critical. I refer to it in terms of first principles, because it is what has brought you together. It is what is binding you together. And there's going to be dynamic pressure to separate you. But it's important that that message be held in precious hands, so that when it's challenged, that you come back to it, because that's what brought you together in the first place. There's going to be a challenge to that, because that's just the nature of organisms, but that's okay, because that'll only make you stronger and bind you together to that message all the more, in much the same way that it is done here in America, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that the 10-point plan that you're referring to by Maryam Rajavi,
Yes.
it is our compass, is our guidance. We want to have a modern judicial system. We want to have peaceful coexistence with neighbors. We want to have a free market economy. We want to have gender equality. We want to have a non-nuclear Iran. We want Iran that adheres with all of the, international institutional covenants out there. But first, we have to overthrow this regime. And how we overthrow this regime is what I said, based on that organic resistance movement inside Iran. After the regime is overthrown, what really impresses me about Maryam Rajavi is her movement, the National Council of Resistance, has a very clear plan They want to hold the election within the 6 months of the overthrowing of
Wow.
this regime.
Yes.
Reza Pahlavi wants to hold the election in 3 years, maybe.
Oh,
So he has this non-committal 3 years.
yes.
So guess what? Iranian people are not going to wait 3 years. They're going to go for 6 months.
Yeah. You can't have
Within
a void. You
six
can't have a
months, and
void.
CRI,
You've got to have leadership in place. No doubt. Yes.
100%,
Right.
100%. So within 6 months, the entire effort of the National Council of Resistance is to hold a free and fair election, which is going to be open to the international observers to come and also participate in that historic moment with Iranian people. What comes out of that ballot box is what's going to be the representative of the Iranian people that are going to be forming a parliament that's going to draw up a new constitution.
Mhm.
Within that process is where all of these different Iranian political parties can emerge, can rally behind their message. And again, going back to your point of the 10-point plan and the guidance principle of the 10-point plan, every party can run on those platforms, and let's see what the Iranian people choose.
Exactly.
But
Mhm.
this is how America was built. This is
Right.
how our country was able to land in a democratic. Is it perfect? No. But
Mhm.
is it working? Absolutely.
Right.
And this is
It's better. It's
how
better than the
we can.
alternative, no doubt. And I would say this:
Exactly.
learn this from America. You mentioned the ballot box, free and fair elections, absolutely critical. Do not let anybody talk you into using any kind of machine that will count ballots. Just the old-fashioned way: one ballot, one vote. You'll get the results just like we used to do in the old days, inside of a day, and have the results that was a direct representation of the electorate. So learn from America in that, Dr. Ramesh.
100%. And honestly, I think there's such a beautiful moment when people are casting that paper ballot in an old-fashioned way that we cannot move that experience from the Iranian people. So I am with you 100%, Bill, because I think it's a very celebratory moment for the Iranian nation to be able to do that.
It's a sacred moment, for each nation
Yes,
to be
yes.
able to cast a vote and say who do they want for their leadership? Who do they believe will represent their desires and lead them? Especially here it is. I mean, you've got to. This is such a golden opportunity. I'm real excited, for Iran, for the people, and what it could mean to the Middle East, and that we could look
Absolutely.
down over the decades after this and be able to say, thank God for Iran. Look at what they've done, right?
Yes. Yes, I
Yeah.
can't wait for that moment, Bill. I really cannot wait for that moment. And my kids were born here. I've been here most of my life, and I cannot wait for that moment where I can take them back and have them and have the opportunity to visit my native land, Iran,
Mhm.
and be able to connect with their heritage. So
Right. And you
it's a
have
moment that
relatives,
is not
and,
far.
and you have
I do.
relatives there,
I do
right?
have.
Exactly. That have
Yes.
you seen them recently at all?
No, I mean, our connections, obviously, we can't call them, but they're able to call, based on what I know, because my mother has been in touch. They're able to call from inside Iran
Hmm.
between the hours of 8 a.m. to 12. And every once in a while, some messages get through, but it is not, I mean, none of the messaging platform work, but the
Hmm.
phone calls only happens from inside Iran to us. So I haven't been able to see them or hear their voice, but I think some changes and some shifts hopefully are happening within the internet space where Iranian people can actually able to communicate with the rest of the world.
Well, Dr. Ramesh, we got about a minute left here, so I'm going to let you again summarize, the plan and the vision for Iran and the impact that it is having, not only right now, but what it will have in the future for the Middle East. Go ahead.
Bill, thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And I think if I were to leave your listeners with what is the strategy to get rid of this regime, the strategy is organic, it's homegrown. It is the Iranian resistance movement that has been building its capacity, that has had strategic vision, and is not going to back down until and unless this regime is overthrown. So my ask of anyone who's listening is to fight for the Iranian regime, Iranian people's right to overthrow this regime, to fight for their self-determination and self-defense, and support their call for regime change in Iran. And then what I would say is what comes after this regime will be through a transition plan that was put together by Iran's, the most longest and most enduring resistance movement, the National Council of Resistance of Iran, that was established back in 1981. One thing that people don't know, Bill, that NCRI was actually established in Iran before they went to exile and to operate as a parliament in exile. So that parliament in exile is going to hold 6 months, within 6 months, an election where Iranian people can determine their own representative who can draw up a new constitution for a non-nuclear secular republic. This is what the people of Iran want. And we hope that we are clear with a message that can clarify what's in the head and how to support the people of Iran going forward.
Well, Dr. Ramesh Sepehrrad, cannot thank you enough. Appreciate you. And, we continue to pray, for you, for the people of Iran, and for this movement, I believe, which will, I mean, some people will look at it as a miracle. And I think it's awesome. And I just cannot wait. I cannot wait for you and for the people of Iran and for the people of the Middle East and the world for that matter, because I think the ramifications will be that profound.
100%. And thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your commitment to give the Iranian people voice. So we really appreciate it. And thank you for having me on your show.
Well, it's been an honor. Thank you. Take care. God bless.